I have stood in that courtyard 1,000 times. I know the sound of my own boots on the wet stone. I know the way the fog sits low over Thornhall Palace in the early hours, before the tourists come, before the flags are raised. But that morning was different, and I think, until the day I die, I will remember it. My name doesn't matter much. I was 22 then, a first-year guardsman in the Sablewick Royal Line. We were told 100 times what our job was: stand still, face forward, do not move no matter what you see. Old King Aldous had died in the winter. The whole kingdom had watched them carry him through those gates, and now, in the spring, we were to swear ourselves to his daughter, to the new queen, to Cordelia. She was young, 26 maybe, soft-spoken. People underestimated her because she smiled easily. But there was someone who did not smile that day. The Dowager Queen, Ravella. She had been queen once. For 30 years she had stood at the top of every room, and now she was to bow a small bow, just a lowering of the head, to a girl she still called child, in private. I did not know any of this then. I only knew what I saw, and what I saw I could not explain for a long time. The ceremony was small, held in the east courtyard under the gray sky. There were perhaps 40 people, ministers, old families, a few of us guards lined along the wall like statues. I remember the smell of rain that hadn't fallen yet. I remember a pigeon landing on the fountain and no one shooing it away. Queen Cordelia stood at the center. She wore no crown that morning, just a plain dark coat. Her hands were folded. She waited. One by one they came forward. A minister bowed, a duchess curtsied, small movements, quiet respect. And then the Dowager Queen stepped forward. I felt the air change. I swear I did. The people near the front went still in a way that had nothing to do with ceremony. Ravella walked slowly, chin high. She stopped in front of Cordelia. And she did not bow. She simply looked at her for 1 second, 2, 3. You could hear the fountain, that was all. I have thought about those 3 seconds more than I have thought about anything in my life. Cordelia did not flinch. That is the part people forget when they tell this story wrong. The young queen did not beg. She did not order. She just held Ravella's gaze, calm as still water. But Ravella, she wanted something. I understand that now. She wanted the girl to look away first, to prove she was still a child playing at being queen. The girl did not look away. Somewhere behind me, a minister cleared his throat. It sounded like a gunshot in that silence. Then Ravella spoke, quietly, but in a courtyard that quiet everyone heard. I bowed to your father, she said. I will not bow to his shadow. I remember my own heart. I remember thinking, do not move. Whatever happens, do not move. Because that was the test, not for her, for us. You see, a royal guard does not act on insult. We are not there to defend a queen's pride. We are there to protect a queen's person. There is a difference, and it is everything. If a guard steps forward for a rude word, he has failed. He has made a private quarrel into a public one. He has told the world the queen could not stand on her own. So we stood. I could feel the man beside me, an older guard, Sergeant Brennan, a man with gray at his temples and 20 years on his shoulders. I could feel him breathing slow and even, the way you breathe when you are holding a whole storm inside your chest and refusing to let it out. Ravella turned. She began to walk back to her place, satisfied. She thought she had won. And then she did the one thing that changed the morning. She reached out almost lazily and she pushed, not Cordelia, a young steward, a boy really who had stepped forward to guide her. She pushed him hard, and he stumbled back into the stone edge of the fountain and went down. He cried out a small sound. He was maybe 17. And that was no longer pride. That was harm. Sergeant Brennan moved. I have never seen a man move like that. Not fast, not angry, just certain. He crossed that courtyard in 5 steps, and he did not raise his voice, and he did not raise his hand. He simply placed himself between Ravella and the fallen boy. And he said the words we are all trained to say, the words none of us ever think we will use. "Madam, you will come with me." She stared at him, the Dowager Queen, 30 years of power in her eyes. "Do you know who I am?" she said. "I do," Brennan answered. "That is why I am asking and not telling." I will never forget that line, as long as I live. He did not grab her. He did not shame her. He offered his arm the way you offer an arm to someone you respect, and he waited, and the whole courtyard waited with him. For a moment I thought she would refuse. I thought it would become something ugly. But then Queen Cordelia spoke, just one word. "Gently," she said, to Brennan, not to Ravella. "Gently." And something in the old woman broke, not in anger, but in something closer to shame. Because the girl she had tried to humiliate had just, in a single word, protected her dignity in front of the whole court. Ravella took the sergeant's arm, and she let herself be led away, slow, quiet, out through the eastern arch into the palace away from the crowd. No shouting, no struggle, just two figures walking into the fog. The young steward was helped to his feet. Cordelia herself knelt beside him first, a queen, on the wet stone in front of everyone, and asked if he was hurt. He nodded, red-faced, and she smiled at him like he mattered more than any of them. Later they said many things about that morning. Some said the Dowager Queen had been arrested. She had not. Some said she was thrown out. She was not. The truth is simpler and stranger. She was escorted gently to a private room. She was given tea. And an hour later she came back out on her own, and she found the boy she had pushed, and she said she was sorry, in front of witnesses, in her own words. I do not know what Brennan said to her in that room. He never told a soul. That was the kind of man he was. But I think it was not a threat. I think it was something quieter. I think he reminded her of who she had been before pride made her small. I served 11 more years after that morning. I saw coronations and funerals and storms, but nothing taught me more than those few minutes. Because I learned that strength is not the loud thing. It is not the shout or the shove or the refusal to bow. Strength is the man who crosses the courtyard slowly. It is the girl who says, gently, when she has every right to say, away with her. It is the old woman who walks back out and says she is sorry. We are trained to stand still, to face forward, to never move no matter what we see. But the truest thing I ever learned, I learned that gray morning at Thornhall. Sometimes the whole meaning of a life is in the one moment you choose to move, and the way you choose to do it.